What's up people, welcome back to the Neon Arcade. Today's video is going to be exploring how big of a downgrade, if at all, Cyberpunk 2077 will get on the PS4 and Xbox One compared to PCs, and potentially next generation consoles. It will also lay out what console-based downgrades could affect in terms of graphics, NPC density, lighting, and scale and detail on a micro and macro level. Stay tuned to learn how you will be affected if you're an Xbox or PlayStation player. Now I do have some good news for console players before we start. If we go by The Witcher 3 sales, PC and console was split 30-70 respectively, so CDPR stands to lose a lot if the console ports don't perform well. As great a developer as they are a business at the end of the day, and having 70% of a AAA game's sales come from console means it has to be a priority at the studio. Now our first hint into understanding console players and the downgrading conundrum is to look back on games that put the PS4 and Xbox One to the test. Now God of War is a stunning graphical achievement and runs pretty well from other people's accounts, but it isn't truly an open world game. Open world games demand more resources because they're obviously larger in scale. We do however know that these consoles can push out beautiful games like Horizon Zero Dawn, Spider-Man, and previously mentioned God of War. Optimization is another hint into how well it will run, and for this, the best hint at how 2077 will run would be to look at The Witcher 3. This is a game made by CD Projekt themselves with less resources than they have now, which ran fine for the most part on current gen consoles with 2015 technology baked into the code. Red Engine 4 increases the fidelity of Cyberpunk 2077, and CDPR seems fairly confident and relaxed when asked what platforms 2077 is coming to. After all, they would not formally announce it on PS4 and Xbox One without extensive testing on developer builds, and with their perfectionist attitude, it has to look at least somewhere close to PC on medium settings. As great as Cyberpunk 2077 looks, I have to disagree with some of the opinions from E3 and Gamescom demos, saying that the world looks absolutely real and can only be accomplished on next gen. Yes, it is very pretty, especially when viewed in 4K, but at the end of the day, to me at least, it still looks like a video game, albeit a very realistic one, especially environmentally. Something also tells me that as impressive as the NPC density is, they've gotten to the point where larger scale NPC environments are doable on current gen. Novigrad from The Witcher 3 had pretty high NPC density, and although it was turned down for consoles, it's pretty impressive looking back on an engine that was most likely developed in the 2012 range. I do however think there will be slightly less going on in the console ports, but every console generation that I've been alive for has pushed out some fantastic looking and technologically impressive games at the tail end of the console's life cycle. Gears 3 and The Last of Us stands out to me, but I'm sure you guys can think of others that incorporate great looking graphics with a larger scale world and environment. I'd stand to wager if console will take a hit anywhere, it will be in some of the more simplistic details. Changing the NPC density too much makes it a different game on a console, and the game would completely lack a congruent and seamless experience hopping between PC to console, and having it run at 15 FPS fundamentally goes against the flair for optimization large AAA studios have. The graphical fidelity and the micro details of the environment would make sense to scale back to get a smooth experience, as well as minor lighting and textures, but that formula really hasn't changed in making any titles that span high-end PCs and consoles work. Cyberpunk 2077 is more vertically expansive than The Witcher 3, and in-engine trickery of not having to render buildings in the background because there are two behemoth mega buildings blocking your view of the horizon could also help scale everything down and make the demands on your console easier. Yes, there will be a lot in your immediate view, but there may be times where there are a lot of architectural overlaps unless you're in a setting like this, with a wide POV and elevated vantage point. First-person perspective also means there's less to render on screen because the camera perspective is built into your character instead of floating behind, and although this could really have no effect on anything, I figured I'd mention it anyways. Now CDPR has said that the PS4 and Xbox One version will look just as good as the demo, and whether it's out of blind naivety or cautious optimism, I tend to believe CDPR when they say that. What I also believe, however, is that on the PC, it will look a certain margin better than the demo, depending on your personal specs and settings of course. You can safely expect the work in progress build to be very similar to how it will look on current gen consoles, whilst high-end PC users will experience a graphical boost. To what degree of a boost could be anyone's guess, but if you want a rough idea on how Cyberpunk 2077 will look on your current gen console, a mix between the best aspects of The Witcher 3 and the Cyberpunk 2077 demo should put you on pace for no disappointments. CDPR has already made the huge mistake of having the only tarnish on the highly praised Witcher 3 be its graphical downgrade, so I'd venture to bet it's priority for them to not show their hand with too much hubris and overcommitment to any aesthetic at this time. That's it for this video, but make sure you join the arcade for more Cyberpunk 2077 content.